Okay, I call the January 2022 Planning Board meeting to order. First thing we'll do is the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Okay, there are no emergency exits today that I know of, so you'll have to figure that out if you have an emergency. Roll call. Larry,
Present.
Frank,
Yes, sir.
Andrew,
Here.
and who am I missing? Rory.
Here.
Okay, I think I've got everyone. Do we have a motion to approve?
Don't forget
December?
Chairman Ring as a point of order.
Oh, that's true. I'm here. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from December?
I'll make that
motion
motion.
approved.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
motion carried. We need to, for 2022, elect a vice chairman for the planning board. And do we have any nominations?
My pleasure to nominate Frank Almquist.
I'll second that
second that.
motion.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Against?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
How many against?
Just me.
Aye.
Just Frank, okay. Motion carried. Frank, welcome. Thank you for filling in again this year as vice chairman.
Thank you, Frank.
We need to appoint the planning board secretary. I make a motion that we continue with Gabby, who's a town employee, for the secretary.
I would second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Who's against?
Oh, against? I'm sorry. No.
No
I,
one?
Oh,
I thought you said again.
yeah, I may have said against it, sorry.
All right, motion carried. All right, Paul, I see Paul here. You'll need to unmute yourself, but I'd like to open the public hearing for a lot line adjustment on the complex consisting of Johnson Ford, what is known as Johnson Ford, Johnson Nissan, Campers Barn, Central Hudson Building. That property there, it's a lot line that's slightly moved from the previous, November plan, Paul?
Yes, we got a revision on over a couple different phases on that campus over the last 14 months. But we neglected to properly place the line behind the Central Hudson building. And I can do a screen share if you'd like. I've got a map up. But we're moving the lot line about 25 feet further off of the building behind the Central Hudson building towards the self-storage facility to where the fence line is, so that the whole blacktop apron behind the Central Hudson building is actually on that parcel.
Can you show us on the screen there, Paul?
Host has disabled screen sharing.
Well, that's not good.
Hello.
Well, I don't know how to enable it. Let me see if I can find it here. I don't have the latest map. Unless this is it. Let me share my screen. Does this look like the latest?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we're, let me zoom in here.
Okay, so center of the screen, right where your mouse is, that's the Central Hudson building. You can see down a little bit is where the water tower is in the parking lot. Yep, right there. Now, to the right of that, you see the dashed line is the lot line that's going to be deleted, and then there's a new lot line just a little bit to the right of that, which is actually about 25 feet.
And Paul, what's this distance between the one-story commercial building and the lot line? Is there sufficient distance here?
Yes, I don't have what the exact number is, but we did review and discuss that. I believe in the OM district, it's a minimal setback, as I recall. I forget what the exact number is.
What setback are we calling that, Paul?
That would be I guess it would be a rear yard on the storage facility. Jeffrey, if you could scroll to the right a little bit, show us that lot 2.
Well, your rear or side are the same.
Okay,
That we know it's not the front.
correct.
So rear or side is 10 feet. So yeah.
Okay. So I believe that dimension was 15 or 16 feet. Now, for reference, if you look up in the top corner, you can see we are moving the lot line about 26 feet. If you zoom in a little bit more, so using that as scale for reference. But, as I recall, when we were in Bernier and Larios, it was about 15 feet.
This is the 26 feet you're talking about?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So that'll give you the scale.
All right, thanks, Paul. So I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye. Oh, against you're saying, sorry.
Against, yep.
Larry, wake up.
All right, thank you. So if there's any members of the public that would like to inquire on this project or have any questions related to any of this project, please unmute your line and you could give a comment. Okay, I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Tom Quistir, I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Against? Motion carried. David, can you read the resolution?
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Whereas the applicant Johnson Route 28 is seeking minor subdivision / lot line revision approval to shift the lot line on 3 contiguous parcels in accordance with section 16110 of the town code. Whereas the affected parcels are 4814-138, 4813-221.200, and 48.13-2-21.300. Whereas the proposed lots comply with the minimum lot size and dimensions of the highway commercial zoning district. Whereas pursuant to section 161.9 of the town code, proposed action is a minor subdivision is subject to approval by the town planning board. Whereas the application materials and support include, I detailed this, but just quickly, completed application for subdivision approval, a map of the proposed lot line revision on lands of Johnson Route 28 prepared by Bernier and Larios, signed owner consent form for filing from Paul Johnson, signed escrow agreement from Paul Johnson, and then the completed short environmental assessment form. Whereas the referral to the county planning board was not required pursuant to the Ulster County Planning Board Land Use Referral Guide, since the proposed action involves fewer than 5 lots. Whereas the planning board considered the application materials submitted by the applicant and support the action along with comments to consultants via memorandum. Whereas in accordance with chapter 161, the proposed action is a minor subdivision, the planning board must hold at least 1 public hearing before it can take final action. Whereas at the December 14th meeting of the planning board, scheduled this matter for a public hearing at the January 11th, today, planning board meeting. Whereas at its January 11th meeting, the planning board opened and closed the public hearing. Whereas the planning board has classifies the proposed action as a seeker unlisted action. And upon review of the entire record, makes a seeker negative declaration after concluding that the action does not pose any large or significant adverse environmental impacts. Now be it resolved, the planning board has determined that they've complied fully with the procedural requirements of seeker, and be it further resolved, the Ulster Planning Board hereby grants minor subdivision approval as described above, subject to the conditions, limitations, restrictions as follows. Plat shall be filed with the office of the county clerk after signature by the chairman of the planning board. 2, compliance with any comments from the town of Ulster Water Superintendent. 3, no changes, erasures, modifications, or revisions shall be made to any plat after approval by the planning board and endorsed in writing on the plat. 4, the final plat must be filed in the office of the county clerk within 62 days of the date of final plat is approved by the planning board, that's today. And 5, all fees shall be paid.
Okay, do we have a motion on this resolution?
Tom Quist here. I'll make the motion to accept the resolution.
Decker,
Yeah. Ups.
I heard a second from Larry Decker. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
No. Who was against?
I'm sorry, Chairman. I hit my unmute button at the last second. I apologize.
Okay,
I was in
Um,
favor.
motion carried. Paul, thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Paul, you're all done with this now?
Yes, we are 100% done. I'm hoping.
Taking a long
Thank you.
time.
Yes, it has. It's been about 10 years I've been working on this cleanup,
Wow.
but we're almost there. Thank you very much. Appreciate your help.
All right, Paul, thanks. All right, the next order of business is Mo's Motor Cars. So this item has been a topic of a number of different boards over the last few months. The applicant, Mo Wahid, is here tonight. He has prepared a professionally designed site plan and would like to take us through that site plan. Mo, if you could talk us through the facts of what your final proposal is, that would be great.
Sure. Okay, so just little changes that I made was the fence on the roadway. I kind of brought it back from the line to the edge of the pavement to allow for the shrubbery to cover it up on my own property. So I don't need, permission from the roadway. I moved the trailer to.
So hang on, Mo. So you moved the fence 7.74 feet on the right side and 4.59 feet on the left side from the property line.
Yeah, it's more than 4.59. That's all the way at only the edge. So towards the middle, it's at least like 6 feet when it starts hitting the island to about 8 feet.
Yep. And you also had a conversation with the county roadway on the curb cuts on that, right?
Yep. Yeah, I spoke to him. The representative came down immediately and he was checking out the site and he made recommendations to push the gate and that chain link fence to the edge of the pavement. And he said, if you do that, then, we have no problem. And I forwarded you the email. So that's it. So I did it immediately. I addressed it. It's no problem to me.
Okay.
All right. And then I moved the trailer more now to the church side, closer to that area, which actually kind of hides that trailer a little more. So, it's more of an open area in the front. So, people had issues with the trailer, even though I'm going to paint it, clean it up. It's going to be more hidden on the side, on the same side as the container that's there that, has graffiti. It's going to be all painted up. But again, it's been freezing temperature. I couldn't paint. I couldn't do anything. It's not going to,
And Mo,
Yeah.
on the trailer itself, you're going to put skirting around so it doesn't look like it's on wheels, correct?
right, like a wood cedar or something, like some type of panel that as I paint, I'm going to paint that too. So it'll match. And yeah, around the whole thing, see, it'll look like a permanent structure. Other than that, basically the center area will be display, the rear storage area, the employee parking, the proposed customer visitor area. That's pretty much what I've been saying for the last couple months. What was that? So none of that's changed. Even the container where it's at, that's the area it's gonna be. Just, there's more shrubbery on the property as you see on the diagram. I'm not doing any sign right now. When I do, it'll be the existing sign close to the roadway that I'm gonna change, but I'm not doing any sign now, no lighting. There's no bathrooms, and there's no water, there's no wastewater. I don't have to worry anything like that. So anything with runoff, this is what the property has been. I'm not changing the way any runoff or anything has been occurring, so.
And Mo, can you talk to us about the fence that you want to put around the property? Can you talk through the type, the kind, the height and so on?
Yeah, it's gonna be a 6 foot as opposed to the, possibly 8 foot. I did that because of the backlash from everyone, so 6 foot all around, and that's gonna be wood. It's not gonna be chain link. So that's gonna be around the whole property on the line. That's pretty much it.
So you're saying that the front fence, right now it says proposed chain link fence. You're saying that is now a wood fence?
No. I mean, the rest, that's chain link, but the rest is wood that's drawn.
Okay,
Only chain link in the front, I meant, sorry.
okay.
And that's, pretty much it. Do you have any questions on anything that you were concerned with?
And I think you identified that there's 10% required green space. And I see a note here on the drawing that the total green space is over the 10%, the required 10%.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, is there any discussion among the board for this applicant?
I have a question. Mo, can we talk about the water? Will you be having any bathrooms on the property?
No. I mentioned that, no
So
bathroom.
you would not be connecting to the water system at all?
Absolutely not. In the future, if I build a building, that's a different story, but I'm not. So in the near future, I don't see that. All right.
What's the parking surface?
In the rear or the front is asphalt, and the asphalt is like the majority of the property. The rear is gonna be, there's big piles of like blacktop asphalt millings, and that's gonna be mashed down in the rear, and it's pretty much gonna look like asphalt back there. The way we mash it down, it's gonna pretty much be close, but we wrote gravel, but it's like a blacktop / gravel, so.
Jeffrey, from me, the board got a memo, but it predates the most recent site plan. So I think he's taken care of everything. I just have two questions. One's probably to Warren. Warren, does he need one ADA compliant space?
Anything up to 25, yes.
So we've got we're talking about, Mo?
No,
On the site
Handicap
plan?
parking spot, Mo. One of the customer spaces needs to be handicapped.
Also-
Okay.
Also needs an adjacent hashed out loading for that space.
okay, I can put it towards, the edge or whatever.
To make a difference where, Warren?
No, where's proposed customer parking? On the north side?
Right
Yes,
here,
Yeah,
Mo, are you thinking this spot right here to be the ADA compliant spot?
Well, I'm on my phone. I can't see what.
The one closest to Hurley Avenue. You're,
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you guys want, it doesn't matter to me.
the
You know,
space-
whatever.
The
What I gotta
customer
look at
parking
is-
space.
I gotta look at surface. Because it's gonna have
So-
to be on pavement.
Yeah, no, that's pavement. That's all blacktop. If you see by the customer, that's all blacktop.
Okay.
So Mo, your site plan will have to show that before the town board makes final approval.
That's fine.
Okay.
So what do you, so just draw out where that last looking Volkswagen is, right?
If
So-
that's the space that works.
And just draw it out and say handicap, that's it?
Yes.
Well, yes.
That
Okay.
and then space adjacent to it just has to be figured, Marcus, no, there's no parking there.
Well,
And just so you know, that won't be a problem. That space won't be a problem encroaching in the front setback.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Okay, thank you.
then the only other issue was this tank closure question. And
Yes,
now, Mo provided us, since we last talked, more information from DEC. Well, the DEC confirms the property was properly cleaned and the tank closed, correct, Mo?
yeah, that's, I don't know who said that. I've always said from the beginning that it's been completely removed and any
Okay.
ground around it.
Right, well, the county comment wanted that,
Yeah.
evidenced and reviewed by an engineer, so Jeffrey, we've got the evidence, we have not had the town engineer review it.
I think that Warren has done some work on this. I believe Warren spoke with the DEC as well as, did you speak with Bernier and Larios as well?
No, I did not, because the information, I reached out to the DEC rep and she sent me the log for all the work that was performed. And the last entry in the log was all issues are compliant. Nothing further, we're closing it. Now, if I need to, I can foil the DEC to get the closure report. But this report basically states that.
Oh, and I have that.
With that.
I have that. I've had
Well,
that the whole
what you
time.
sent me was, it's like it dropped off halfway through.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I went to them just to see what they could give me, and they sent
Yeah,
me
sure.
something similar, but it actually showed the entire timeline, when they were there, what they did, the last day they were there, and the fact that it was done.
Oh,
I'm trying to lay my hands on it right now, but
well, if you need it, I can send it tomorrow. So whatever I have the whole thing. I can email it to you, whatever you want.
So Chairman, it's a matter of whether you want more information for town board approval.
Personally, I'm satisfied that Warren's done the due diligence on this with the DEC.
Okay.
Mo, I had 3 other questions for you.
So, yep.
One, the neighboring churches have concern of noise on Sunday mornings. As part of this, we would probably condition hours of operation to not include noisy operations on Sunday mornings. Would that affect your plan at all?
Not at all.
Okay. The
And no
second
food
issue, the second issue that the churches had were smells,
Right. fumes.
chemical smells and things like that. Do you foresee using
No.
any chemicals or anything like that on this?
No way.
And then my third question is, this is not a site where you have a mechanic doing mechanics work or a detailer doing detail work, other than maybe a guy with a spray bottle of Shine Clean and a rag, right?
I don't even know if that will happen, but okay. So I just want to mention this because, I spoke to this. I'm going to be using detail shops locally, mechanic shops. The DMV won't let me start taking out engines and doing all these things. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to be utilizing local shops once I get started and develop relationships. Yes.
Okay, those were my 3 questions.
Okay, so I could adjust the ADA and I could email that to you tomorrow, I guess, the plan, and done.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Mo.
Probably
John
probably needs
Stoll.
to be a record before the public hearing, right?
Hello, Mo?
Yes, how are you?
Yeah, how you doing? John Stoll. I just
Okay.
I'm looking at this, I had a couple questions myself.
Sure.
I'm looking at Hurley Avenue, and to the right side, you have some shrubbery coming up that right side and then across the front, and then you have some shrubbery on the left.
Yes. Yep.
And if unless I misunderstood, you're not gonna have any water at all?
Water?
Yeah.
Uh,
Right, or you?
no, because the shrubbery is probably gonna be those, I always mispronounce it, the arbor baby, whatever, these bushes that are kind of low maintenance, like to cover it up. But yeah, it's not gonna be like little flowers. It's gonna be bushes that are kind of
So-
thick, try to cover
So
it.
something that the neighbors, were they concerned with shrubbery? Were they requesting that, or is it just something that you are offering to do?
Oh, the bushes, the attempt
Yeah.
with the bushes was to try
Yeah.
to cover up more of the chain link. But, I've been very clear, as I mentioned, that will only happen once the chain link fence goes up. So if there's no chain link fence at the time, that's gonna go up after the chain link. Okay.
So, John, this is Jeffrey.
I
Just,
wasn't sure. if
just
it
to
was a
answer your
requirement,
question,
the shrubbery. That's-
in the public hearings that I've been to, which were the ZBA public hearing and the town board public hearing, there was concern of the neighbors to conceal the fence in some way through landscaping and shrubbery or something like that. So to answer your question, yeah, it did come out of the public hearings.
Okay. Yep, thank you. And then is it, in the event of a safety issue, is it without water, where you would need, an instance where you would need water? Is that a concern?
No, I wouldn't need it. I mean, I don't foresee seeing anything like that right now. No. I
Well,
wouldn't.
there's one problem with not having water there. And new shrubbery, new plants need an inch of water a week for the first growing season.
Well, the landscaper will handle that. They'll bring water. That's not a big deal. They could spray it there. They have pickup trucks. I'll take care of that. I don't need running water for my property. They could bring it,
That, if you can handle that, that's the main
Oh,
thing.
yeah, no, that's what we're gonna do, because just like sod, I understand that if you don't start watering it in the beginning, it could die. Yeah, I got
Right.
that, yeah. Of course. No, I'm gonna make sure I have a local landscaper that could take care of this for me and bring water.
I would suggest putting boxwood in there.
I don't know what that is.
It's a shrub that has fairly tiny leaves. The deer don't like it at all. And
Oh,
where
good.
you are-
Boxwood,
where
let me
you
write
are-
this down. Boxwood. If the deer don't like it because they're destroying me in Marlboro, my house, okay.
Oh, they love arborvitae.
Oh, my God, I know. They chew half of them. They don't chew the top.
Yeah, and unless you're going to lock that fence at night, they'll even jump over that to get at it. So it's not, or go under your gate if it's not fastened to the ground. So you're
Well-
better, a boxwood's a good plant. There's a couple of different kinds, but you can get them that'll grow to about 6 foot high,
Okay.
that ball shape.
Boxwood. Okay, no, I definitely will try to do that first if that's available.
Well, thank you. Those were my two
Yeah.
questions.
Anyone else? Dave, I think we have a resolution on this. Can you read the resolution?
Sure. So for context, the reminder, the planning board advises the town board on this one. So it's a motion recommending town board make a negative declaration under seeker and pending outcome of the public hearing grant conditional final special use and site plan approval. Whereas the applicant Mo's Motor Cars LLC seeks special permit and site plan approval for a new automotive sales and service use. And whereas the applicant has submitted a complete site plan application to the Town of Ulster Planning Board, including a submitted seeker short environmental assessment form. And whereas the town board, Town of Ulster, has final review and approval authority in coordination with the Town of Ulster Planning Board. Whereas the following recommendation from the planning board, the town board has initiated seeker and declared its intent to be a lead agency, has referred the application for review to the Ulster County Planning Board, and has scheduled a public hearing on the special use application. And whereas the Ulster County Planning Board returned review memo number 2021-2020 and 2021, dated a lot of 21s in here, dated 12/1/21. with comments and recommended modifications on site plan completeness, parking, layout, lighting, tank closure, health department, and access. And whereas the planning board has met with the applicant at both planning board workshops and regular monthly meetings and recommends that the applicant has now complied with the Ulster County Planning Board recommendations. And whereas the planning board has reviewed this application and recommends the town board take the following. Be it resolved, the planning board recommends the town board finds that this application is unlisted under seeker and make a negative declaration under seeker. And be it further resolved, the planning board recommends the town board hold a public hearing for the special use permit application and consider all comments prior to final action on the application. And be it further resolved, the planning board has completed its advisory review of this application, recommends that the planning board grants final approval of this application subject to any conditions which may arise after the closing of the public hearing, as well as subject to conditions, limitation, and restrictions set forth below. 1, compliance with all applicable zoning and building laws, rules, regulations. 2, compliance with all representations made by the applicant. 3, compliance with the site plan, design plans, and other details cited herein. 4, I'm adding, let's see if I get this right, Chairman, no on-site business operation on Sunday mornings.
Until noon.
Until noon, okay. On Sunday until noon. So again, that'll read new condition, no on-site business operations until Sunday noon.
Okay.
5, town's consulting planner and building inspector hereby authorized to approve minor changes of ministerial nature which may arise due to unforeseen circumstances and site development. And 6, all fees shall be paid.
Okay, do we have a motion on this?
I'm quit sure. I make a motion that we accept the planner's recommended proposal.
I'll second that motion. Is there any discussion among the board? I do have one. The shrubbery around the fence, particularly in the front, how high do we want to maintain that shrubbery? I think we need to have a minimum of 3 feet and with an objective of, completely covering the fence.
Okay.
Are you okay with that, Mo?
Yes, absolutely. I wrote it down.
Town board members, what do you think?
I
What
have
was that?
no problem with that, except you just have to be very careful. There's overhead wires, so nothing over 6 foot.
Oh, yeah.
So maintain between 3 and 6 foot.
And then this is Andrew. I just had a concern about visibility pulling out onto Hurley Ave. That was just one concern, but I don't know if it's an issue or not. Just want to consider it.
The DPW associate addressed that also. That's why we kind of moved the gate and the fence back to give more room when they start nosing out, so they're not at the road. So I addressed that already with the DPW associate when he came and did an inspection.
Sounds good.
You want, Jeffrey, you want that as a condition or?
I don't think we need that as a condition because it's already been looked at by the county DOT or Department of Public Works, whatever they're called. And I believe that's why the gate was moved back to allow sufficient room for a car to exit Mo's property, but not yet enter the Hurley Avenue roadway.
Okay, do you want the shrubbery 3 to 6 feet a condition?
Yes.
Okay, so as proposed, when discussion, there's a added condition, which would be seventh, would add a 7th condition, or I'll reorganize them and make a 5th condition, renumber the 6 and 7 last 2. New shrubbery shall be maintained at a height of between 3 and 6 feet.
Yes.
Can I ask a question to Dave?
Of course.
Sure.
Okay, can you just make sure in that condition that you write that that shrubbery will only go up when that fence goes up? So we don't have a miscommunication with anybody?
I think, Dave, I think that's a good point that the landscaping's required with the fence.
So new shrubbery planted after fence installation?
Correct.
At time of.
At time of,
At time of fence installation shall be maintained at height of between 3 and 6 feet. Okay, Mo?
Yeah, I'll try my best to just do it at the same time, so I'll plan like, depending on the season, it's fine.
All right, so you've got the resolution stands with an additional condition on the shrubbery.
yep, and then David, this would be a conditional approval pending the updated site plan by the town board meeting on Thursday for the ADA compliant parking spot.
Oh, yes, yes. Mo, the town board will expect to see an ADA parking space on the site plan before they open the public hearing, all right?
Dave, I'm gonna try and get it done tomorrow. I'm gonna email it to all you.
All right. Warren, I think Warren's the key person.
Yep,
So
send
I'll
it,
just get all copies.
Okay. I'll get it
Okay.
worked.
okay, any more discussion? All right, for this one, I'd like to call a roll call vote. So I'm just gonna go down Zoom. Andrew,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes,
Larry,
Yes,
Rory,
Yes.
and John, are you here as well as one of the primaries?
John's an
John,
alternate.
who?
John Stovall?
John and John are alternates.
John Stowell or Morrow?
Stovall.
Yeah, I'm here. Yes,
Are you one of the alternates or are you one of the main members?
I believe alternate, correct?
Okay, all right. Okay, and then I vote yes. So motion's carried. So Mo, the next order of business will be the public hearing at the town board on Thursday. And
this
for
the-
any of the neighbors that are on the phone tonight, the public hearing on Thursday will be your opportunity to comment on this project. I know many of you have been to a number of the other public hearings.
Okay, the ZBA is first, right?
Yep, I was going to mention that. So the other issue is the ZBA is tomorrow, I
No.
believe.
CBA is
believe-
next Wednesday.
Oh, it's next Wednesday?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I.
Now, the ZBA, I believe the request to the ZBA in December was for an 8-foot fence. So there will need to be some type of communication with the ZBA to clarify your height as well as provide them a new site plan. Okay? So
Okay,
Warren, we'll work on that.
okay.
Okay?
Sure. Yeah, we got time.
Okay, so
Okay.
the next Wednesday, not tomorrow, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay,
All right. Thank you, Mo.
thank you.
All right, the next order of business is Woods Road Solar Farm. Michael, I believe you're on for that.
I am, Mr. Chairman. My name is Michael Morgante. I am the project engineer for this solar farm application that's before the board. If you would like, I can give a brief presentation of the project.
Yes, and I've got your project pulled up, and there's really two pieces on this project as we discussed in the workshop.
Correct.
The first piece is to combine the lots together, and then the second piece is the project itself. So if you could kind of describe the project in those two pieces, that would be great.
Sure. So just slightly to the left of where your mouse pointer currently is on the screen is approximately the lot line that's to be removed on the project. Actually, Mr. Chairman, if you can go to like sheet 3 or 4 of the site plan, it'd be a larger view for us. Slightly larger anyways. That
Show
would
me
work
one.
right there. Yep,
This
that one
one?
right there. That one works just fine. Yes, right there. So again, just about where your mouse is hovering, just up and to the left a little bit would be where the existing lot line is to be deleted. And what we're proposing here is a 5 megawatt solar farm. The topography on the site generally descends in a southeasterly direction. And if you could scroll down just a little bit to the center of the page, you'll see that there is a wetland located in the southeastern portion of the site with a small upland area there that's about 1.9 acres. And ultimately, the drainage from the site, this is a low point on the site, ultimately leads through some box culverts and other culverts underneath the New York State Thruway there, 87. And what you can see is that we're essentially proposing, if you could scroll back up just a little bit, we're proposing the solar panels that you can see there, the arrays, just to the east of the Central Hudson Gas and Electric easement there, and bounded by Woods Road, essentially to the right-hand side of the page, which is the easterly direction. The site would sit fairly low in topography. It's surrounded by a lot of commercial properties. There is a residential subdivision. I think it's like Magic Road, just to the northeast slightly. But they sit at a much higher elevation than us, and this is pretty much buried at a low point in this particular area. So I don't think the visibility or aesthetics of this project would be an issue. I mean, if there ever was a poster child for a solar farm site, you're kind of looking at it right now. The site outside of this particular use is not really applicable for many other uses that I can think of. So we would have an access road at the center of the page shown there that we would access off of Woods Road. We would have some electrical pads there just to the left-hand side of that. There's really very little disturbance that's involved with solar farms, other than the fact that we would have helical screw piles that we would utilize to essentially insert these solar panel arrays into the ground. Almost forgot, Mr. Chairman, it's also worth noting, I think we discussed an easement for a water service line that traverses the site roughly where his mouse is pointing right now. We, as a part of this project, will dedicate an easement, or at least create an easement, I should say, for the town of Ulster for the operation and maintenance of that particular water service line. And I believe that the contractor will work with the town and some other matters involved in that also. So having said all of that, I mean, that's a general summary of the project that is before the board. It's worth noting that there's very little soil disturbance that's involved with these types of projects. Again, essentially what you're doing is just screwing the panels into the ground, and the runoff that's generated from panels essentially just falls back onto the ground beneath them. You're not really creating any impervious surface other than the gravel road, which actually has been constructed in accordance with DEC solar farm guidelines for pervious roads. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We did prepare an erosion sediment control plan for this project that did consist mainly of just that erosion sediment control. That would be the portion of the SWIP that's required for this project. That would be the stormwater pollution prevention plan. Stormwater pollution prevention plans, again, for solar farm sites, if you're looking at New York State DEC guidance, depending upon the site and the soils that are involved, routinely only involve sediment and erosion control plans, because the amount of runoff generated post-construction typically should be the same as pre-construction. So we did prepare that and submit that also for the town's review. I mean, that concludes my general presentation, and I'd be glad to take questions from the board and its consultants at this time.
So Michael, a couple things that came from the workshop, just that I think should be mentioned here is where some solar farms have poured concrete pads that the solar panels sit on. In the case here, you're not doing that. You are installing them directly on the ground with big, long 4-foot screws or whatever the length is, but they're long screws that won't disturb the wetland and won't become impervious surface, correct?
That's correct. These are not ballasted solar panels, meaning that they have a large concrete base at the bottom of them. They are going to be screwed in with the details that you see there, the cut sheets that you see there on the right-hand side of the page. That is correct.
And then the second thing is today, the owner of the property is allowed the town of Ulster to run a temporary water line basically on the surface across the property right in about this area here. And what you're proposing is to create a formal easement to allow a temporary or permanent water line to be maintained by the town across the property. And that width, I think, is somewhere around 25 feet, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, if you could zoom in a little bit more, it's either, it may be a 20 or 25 foot wide easement. I want to say it's 20 feet. But if 25 foot is what's required, we can work with the town. But typically for water and sewer easements, especially for smaller size pipe, a 20 foot wide easement is usually sufficient.
Yep, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Those were the comments that I remember from the workshop.
Correct. And those are shown on the plans.
Any questions from the board?
What's the life expectancy of these solar panels?
I mean, so what I'm hearing is around 25 years. I mean, I don't think there's been any solar farms in operation for that long yet to date that I'm aware of, at least not in New York or the Northeast region. But that's what my understanding is. Technology can support about a 25-year life expectancy.
Mike, it's Keith Leibold, if I could. Yeah, the life expectancy is 25 years. What normally happens is these are financed on a 20-year curve, and at the end of year 20, they begin, or the plan is that they would begin updating these panels with whatever the newer panel models are each year. So in effect, I know a lot of municipalities have a form for removal of the system after its life expectancy, but the racking's just aluminum grid. So the expectation is they would run their finance life, and then through O&M, they would start to replace these with, I'm assuming what's going to be higher power panels, which would lower the disturbance area and still produce the same amount of power.
It would probably be more power as technology changes, right? In 25 years, hopefully these panels would put out more power than they have today.
Yeah, the panels will, but the limiter of the farm is the on-ramp onto the power grid. And that on-ramp is limited. So as, for instance, we were just talking about 12 years ago, the standard panel was 200 watts. Now it's 520 watts. So, 25 years from now, assuming that the technology continues to improve, you might only have to put half as many panels on this property to keep the same output you're allowed. And therefore, they would slowly just reduce the number of panels, and removal of the racking in this grid system is fairly simple, and it's mostly aluminum. So, for decommissioning of whatever section of this, it's of little cost, and this will unbuild itself quite easily.
And you've submitted a decommissioning plan as well.
We have one as requested by council for the town. We just haven't submitted it, but yeah, that's the form that we're going to use. And over the next month, we'll also be having meetings with the town supervisor and the head of the water department just to chart out what they actually need for the water line. And we'll be meeting with the assessor to talk about pilots and such.
Okay, are there any more questions for the applicant?
Good. So Jeffrey, I should point out, I'm not sure he got my memo with Gabby not in the office. Did you, Michael or Keith?
I didn't get any emails from you, Dave.
Okay. Apologies for that. Town hall has been a little hit by, some offices have been hit by a certain challenge these days. For the board, there's two parts to this. There is a lot line adjustment, the merging of two lots in essence, which is very straightforward. And then there's the site plan. As a reminder, the town board has final approval. The planning board advises the town board and coordinates with that. So for the planning board can, I prepared a resolution for the planning board to recommend the town board initiate seeker and refer it because of the location and scale of the project. It has to go to the county for review and comment, and they have 30 days. But just a note, we'll need review and that documentation, that review from the town engineer on this, on the stormwater plan. The town attorney will have to sign off on the decommissioning agreement. The highway superintendent, water superintendent will have to review and confirm to the board that they accept any road connections in this water line easement issue. A warrant as code enforcement officer issues a floodplain development permit since a substantial portion of the property is in the flood hazard zone, or at least the southern what we'll call southwest portion of the property. And will require a floodplain development permit. The fire district's gonna need to review and communicate that review on emergency access to the facility's equipment. We do know that the state's documented the site, for better or worse, is sensitive for prehistoric archaeological resources. So we'll need a memo, a response from the State Historic Preservation Office on file, which could potentially ask for more research to be done. We'll need to know that you're coordinating with the DEC on the two potentially protected habitat, bald eagle and northern long-eared bat, which is really about seasonal cutting of trees. It's the primary issue in play here, which you're probably, I'm sure the applicant's familiar with. And then the other issue, which Chairman, we may need to talk about, is similar to the wet area because of flooding. Significant portion of the site is in what's a preliminary mapped wetlands under the jurisdiction of Army Corps of Engineers. So we'll need a jurisdictional determination from the Army Corps. The challenge, Jeffrey, is that that's a long process these days, given, well, for lack of a better term, the bureaucracy.
David, could I interrupt for 1 second on that? We're actually going to be submitting a nationwide permit for this project. I believe
Okay.
we haven't done so already. I know that Mr. Orzel, if I'm not mistaken, I think his territory is from like Long Island to almost Albany. He's really not coming out for JDs like at all anymore. And in this case, I think because of the fact that we have a plan here that shows a delineation and we're simply requesting that nationwide permit for him, I would request that his review of the nationwide permit be satisfactory for whatever the Army Corps' position is on this particular project. I mean, trying to get him out and schedule him for a JD may never happen. That's been my experience.
Seems reasonable. The board will need some documentation prior to final approval on the status, and then Jeffrey, you can make a collective decision on whether you're going to want to wait for that or condition the recommend condition approval on it. But those documentations will need to be received in some format before you can get final approval. But today, Chairman, I did do a resolution for initiating the seeker process and referring it to the county to get things going.
We should have one more, right, is the lot line.
You want to do the lot line?
I do. So
Okay.
I think we can get that one done today. And that, I think, simplifies the drawing in the applicant's paperwork process, so he doesn't have to do it on two properties. So I'd like to do that. And then going to the town board for seeker.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to, with the board's willingness, I'm going to assemble the motion for the lot line adjustment. Can I paraphrase it, Jeffrey, and then I'll get it together for?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So the motion will be to grant the applicant a lot line adjustment consistent with the relevant town code statute to combine the two subjected lots, which are lots 48.14-1-1.111 and 48.10-1-38.300 into one lot. And then I'll get conditions. It'll be subject to the following conditions. And I apologize. The lot line alterations are not considered subdivisions under the town code. Therefore do not require a public hearing. Second, such lot line alterations are not referable to the Ulster County Planning Board under their land use referral guide. And three, there's a finding to be made by the planning board that this lot line alteration is a type 2 action under seeker and no further environmental review is required. Therefore, be it resolved, the planning board will hereby grant the lot line alteration combining these two lots as described, as I just described, subject to the conditions, limitations, and restrictions set forth below. 1, the plat shall be filed in the office of the county clerk after signature by the chairman of the planning board. 2, compliance with any comments. Drop that one. 2, no changes, erasures, modifications, or revisions shall be made to any plat after approval by the planning board. 3, the final plat must be filed in the office of the county clerk within 62 days of the date of the final plat is approved by the planning board. And 4, all fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid. So that's the lot line alteration only.
Okay, so I make a motion to accept the resolution on the lot line adjustment.
Almquist here, I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? All right, motion carried. All right. David, can you read the next
Sure.
resolution? Yes.
Oh, so, okay, so for same project resolution related to site plan only. Whereas the applicant Woods Road Solar, AKA Professional Commercial Group LLC, seeks site plan and lot line adjustment approval for the construction of a commercial solar facility / utility structure. For the applicant, we call it utility structure in the context of being an allowable use in the zoning district. Whereas the applicant has submitted a complete site plan and lot line adjustment applications to the town of Ulster, including a submitted state environmental seeker full environmental assessment form. And whereas the town board of the town of Ulster has final review and approval authority for the site plan application in coordination with the planning board, while the town of Ulster Planning Board has final review and approval authority of the lot line adjustment. Whereas the planning board has reviewed the applications as complete, Now therefore be resolved, the planning board recommends the town board find that the site plan application is a type 1 action under seeker, and the town shall be designated as lead agency. And now be it further resolved, the planning board recommends the town board formally refers the site plan application to the Ulster County Planning Board for review, consistent to the Ulster County Planning Board Land Use Referral Guide.
We have a motion on the table.
I'll make the motion to accept the planner's resolution.
This is Andrew, I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. And Dave, was there a third?
Nope.
Okay. Any questions, Michael?
No, I think we're all set. Keith, you have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, should we be in attendance at the town meeting, or is that strictly an administrative referral?
The seeker is an administrative referral, right, David?
Correct. Jason, do they expect it to be at the meeting?
They will not be expected to be at the meeting, no.
Thank
And
you.
then, Michael, I just remind you, if you could check in, I believe there's a fee due the town, maybe on the order of $5,000 still yet to be paid. If you could look into that, appreciate it.
Very good.
So
All right.
Michael and Keith, the town board will make that final referral. That'll put you in front of the county planning board for the first Wednesday in February.
Thank you. Michael, could you get that on the calendar?
Yep.
I'll call Dennis and harass him.
We have a member of that board. Frank, are you physically meeting? You're back to remote. Frank still on? You'll have to check with Ulster County to see if they may have gone remote again.
Yes, sir.
And David, would you be able to get me, either email me or fax me or something, a copy of your comment letter for the project?
Yeah, I'll email it to you. Yep, no problem.
All right, Michael and Keith, thank you.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman and Planning Board. We appreciate it.
Yep. Next item of business, or the last item of business, is Romeo Chevrolet, and we have another Michael. Are you here?
Michael apologizes. He was unable to attend tonight due to family issues.
Okay. So Warren, you know the most about this, this application. So as I describe it, please keep me honest.
Sure.
So let me bring up the site plan here. All right, let me zoom in here. Okay, so this is Romeo Chevrolet on Ulster Avenue in Lake Katrine, or 9W in Lake Katrine. They have an existing building that's used for sales and service. And if you're familiar with the location, this part of the building here is their drive-through service center, as well as, I think, a detail shop in the corner. They are proposing to add some additional building covered space to expand their maintenance facility. And they've been through the workshop, and there's minimal issues with this, the largest of which was moving the traps for grease and so on from a location that would be under the proposed building to along here where the pipe goes out to the sewer, connects to sewage up there. Warren, anything else on this? Maybe a movement of a dumpster as well?
Yeah, this is their second meeting. So we saw it last month. We
Yep.
had to send it to county for comment. So the dumpsters are going to move to the northeast portion of the parking lot,
That's up here.
northwest, sorry. Well, we
So
can't see
that's
it on screen. It's up there towards the top. I think it shows up on the other page where the parking is, but yeah, in that vicinity right there. So that we don't have a interference with the traffic pattern for the garbage truck. So pretty straightforward. There's no need to modify the SWIP since it's already impervious surface as being a parking. So that doesn't change. And like you said, they'll move the grease separator from there to the adjacent driveway lane. That's pretty much it.
Any questions from the board on this?
Nope.
David, can you read the resolution?
Sure, it's a resolution closing seeker and granting conditional site plan approval. Whereas the applicant Romeo Chevrolet seeks site plan approval for a 4,450 square foot addition to the northwest portion of their existing facility. Whereas the applicant has submitted a complete site plan application to the town, whereas the application documentation included complete application for site plan amendment review, 2 maps, a proposed site plan and a proposed erosion plan, prepared by Pretorius and Conrad, a signed owner consent form, a signed escrow agreement, and a complete short environmental assessment form. Whereas the town board, in coordination with the planning board, declared its intent to be lead agency and previously typed the action as unlisted under seeker. Whereas this application was referred under general municipal law to the Ulster County Planning Board, who have responded with a comment of no county impact. Whereas the planning board, in coordination with the planning board, considered all application materials submitted along with comments, and therefore be resolved, the town of Ulster Planning Board recommends the town of Ulster Town Board makes a negative declaration under seeker for this action, and be it further resolved that the town of Ulster Planning Board recommends final site plan approval with conditions subject to the conditions, limitations, restrictions set forth below. Compliance with any final comments that may be needed from the town sewer department or water department. 2, compliance with applicable zoning and building laws, rules, regulations. 3, compliance with all representations made by the applicant. 4, compliance with documentation, site plan, design plans, and all details cited herein. 5, the town's consulting planner and building inspector are hereby authorized to approve minor site plan changes of ministerial nature which may arise due to unforeseen circumstances. And 6, all fees shall be paid.
Right, do we have a motion on the table?
I'll make that motion to approve resolution as read.
Almquist here, I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. All right. Thank you all for tonight. I had meant to, at the beginning, I wanted to recognize a few people. Rory Lee has been appointed as one of the new planning members. I wanted to welcome him. I'm sorry, I should have done that at the beginning. As well as our former town councilman, John Morrow. He will be an alternate for 2021. I want to welcome him, and I know he'll bring a wealth of experience from his 12 years on the board. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining and volunteering your time for planning board.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other topics that the board would like to discuss?
Jeffrey, this is Andrew. Do we have to formally elect you as chairman?
No.
Okay.
No, that was a mistake on the original agenda. The chairman is nominated, I believe, by the supervisor and then approved by the town board, which was done in the January meeting.
That is correct.
I didn't want to miss it. Okay.
All right, then I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We'll see you in February.
I hope so.
Be safe, stay warm.
All right.
Definitely.
You guys. Be
Good night,
safe.
all.